Hello and welcome. This lecture is probably the most important part of the project because the code we will write will be responsible for the picture movement across the screen for the screensaver. There are several tasks we are going to perform in this to make the drawing and movement of the pictures across the screen possible. So we're going to break it into several bits and pieces in task. The first task, we're going to make the window update frequently. The second task is to we want every time that the window is updated, we want a loop that will loop over all the breakpick in the list. All right, so there will be a loop. We'll implement a loop that will loop through all the breakpick in the list. Also, for each of the breakpick, we want it to move to the left by 2 pixels. So we're going to implement that. For also, if the breakpick, the position of the new breakpick, if the position is slightly off the screen, we want to wrap it to the other side of the screen so that it keeps on moving. So that also we want to implement. So these are the tasks we are hoping to implement to achieve the objective of drawing and making the pictures move across the screen. In a way, we've already kind of achieved the first option in that we have added a timer. So just that we need to go back into the timer and maybe enable the timer. So let's go to click on the form design view and click on the timer at the bottom here. And let's click on the properties for the timer. And now the timer at the moment by default is set to false. So what we're going to do, we're going to set it to true. So it will kick in as soon as the application is loaded. At the moment, we've got an interval of 100. What this means is that this will be the interval that the screen will refresh every 100 milliseconds. So for example, if I set this to say 40 milliseconds, what that means is that it will trigger every 40 milliseconds, which should give us a refresh rate of 25 screens. So we have about 25 screen updates per second. So if you want your screen to keep refreshing, that quick, then you can set the interval to that level. Just to let you know, 1 minute is equivalent to 60 seconds milliseconds, and 2 minutes will give you 120 milliseconds. So if you want the screen to refresh every 1 minute, then you can set it to 60,000 milliseconds. If you want it to refresh every 2 minutes, you can set it to 120 milliseconds. It's up to you. For me, you'll see the difference. What I'll leave it at 40 for now, but we'll change it later. So this 40 will give us about 25 screen updates per second. That might be a bit too much, but we'll play around with that figure later. We also need to add a line of code for our timer. So click on the event. The timer only has one event, which is a tick. So double click on it. And here we are going to add just one line of code here. It's going to be a refresh method. There's a method called refresh. There you go. So we're just going to add that, and that will enable that the screen refreshes based on the interval we'll set. So I just save that. So what we're going to try and achieve next, we want the window to redraw itself. All right, so we're going to implement this through the movement and the drawing. So what we're going to do, we're going to go, there is an event called paint event. This is what we're going to use to achieve that. So go into the form design and click on, while you've got the form selected, make sure you've got the event section. And if you scroll down, there should be a property called paint. Okay, I think it's right at the top. Let's have a look. All right, so here we've got a property here called paint. So this is what is going to be used to draw and responsible for the movement on the screen as well. So let's double click on the paint event to generate a stub event handler. So double click. So this is our paint event. So in between the curly braces is where we'll write some code. So I've added some code here in blue. So this is the code I've added, inclusive of that. Okay. All right. So here we have attached a for each loop that will loop through this here. So this class and this class as well in this. So basically it will loop through that and grab that inside this picture. So here are a bunch of variables. So this here is what will do the drawing of the images and position them on the X axis and on the Y axis. Okay, so this will do the drawing and positioning. Also, I have attached an if statement here. What this will do, basically what it's saying, that if the object moves off the left edge of the screen, move it back to the right edge. That's what this piece of code is saying. What we have done here, we have we've overridden the default behavior of the Windows. So the normal drawing behavior on Windows is to have every control paint itself. Okay, so Windows tells your window to draw itself, so it does. So, but what we're doing here, we've overridden that default behavior. We don't want the Windows to draw itself, and we don't want it to try to draw any child control either, because that's obviously a big waste of resources. So instead, what we've done, we use the paint event and do the drawing ourselves. The result of this is that we essentially have a nice blank canvas to draw. Okay, hence is handed over to controlled by this paint, this event here. This is what controls the activity of the canvas. At the moment, it's got a black background which was set when the form was generated with the project initially. So save all your code. Anywhere you find yellow strips, it means your code has not been saved. Click save and make sure there are no errors. Always click on this. There's a tab here that says error list. Always click on that. If there's any errors in your code, it will tell you. If you've got no errors there, that means you're doing great. So save your code, and in our next lecture, we'll test what we have done. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.